now that your thing is like so much better.
Well, this would have nothing to do with that because
We'll see.
remember my desktop is not. I don't Wi-Fi
Oh.
it. It's directly.
Oh, it's wired in, hardwired. Your
Wired in.
land, LAN,
But
land.
but you know what? I feel so good about this. I'm going to just go Wi-Fi on this too because I can.
You should just for fun.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because you want to have as many people at once on your. You want to test it.
It is. Yeah. How else are you going to find out if it works or not?
It's important.
Oh, there we go. There.
So much better. Well, this hasn't.
Just popped up for me, so I'm going to share it now. We get going in just a moment. Look at you fine people showing up for duty just as usual. God bless you. It's been almost 17 years that this team has been together, 7 years on the internet.
By the way, by the time we started, Tom Brady was already a star.
That's what I hear.
Right.
That's the rumor.
So who was president 17 years ago?
Oh, that was Bush.
94. 2004. Yeah.
That was George W. Bush. We joined. We signed on WZTK right in the middle, hot and that heavy of that 2004 election. John Kerry and that upstart senator from North Carolina.
Yeah, that whole two Americas thing, boy, that turned out to be a lie.
What an idiot, right?
Yeah.
Keep it in your pants. All right, I'm all shared.
By the way, this notification just came across my phone.
Yeah.
Okay, from ESPN. How close did the Knicks get to landing Michael Jordan in 1996? Inside the 24-hour dance that almost changed NBA history. How about that?
Almost.
Is that wild?
Almost.
Is that wild?
Of course, the big news in the world of sports, Brad, you're going to be looking forward to seeing those Stanley Cup playoffs on TNT starting next year. HBO Max, your exclusive home for New York Rangers hockey. Are you all shared?
Yeah, I think I am.
I am ready to go when you are.
Let me check.
Don't worry, everybody. We're going to do our NFL draft first round breakdown in just a moment. Stand by for that. That kid from A&M, I think he's going to be good.
Is Johnny Manziel back in the mix here?
He's back in the mix somewhere in Arena League in Sioux City.
No, that's over. That's beyond him.
Oh God, no, not even that.
I saw some story the other day about like somebody went up to him and just started talking. He goes, "That's past. I'm done with that. I'm through with that. Something else, please." All right, that's good enough. we begin our Brad and Britt cast for this day, our third episode for this week. Thank you very, very much for joining us here. Well, you know what, Britt? I have a list of things, but you run with something. And
do you want? We
we'll
have legal. We have a legal news to start today. Would you like the important legal news or the frivolous, hilarious legal news? It's your choice.
What were you arrested for yesterday that you want to talk about?
All right, we'll go with the fun stuff first, and we'll put it on the screen right now. There we go. Rudolph Giuliani's apartment. A federal agency executed a search warrant today, and I understand the search warrant was also reviewed by high-level folks at the Department of Justice, so they really feel like this is going to bear some fruit. Other than 17 cases of vodka, we're not really sure what those federal agents found, but apparently this is in relation to his deals with the Ukraine, Brad, which it appears he's up for shit creek. He's really in bad shape right now.
You realize that means that someone may be going through Rudy Giuliani's underwear drawer?
Oh, Jesus. That's why those guys make the big bucks. God bless them.
Right. You couldn't pay me enough for that. By the way, I saw on the Twitter machine that Michael Cohen linked to the article in the New York Times on this and just wrote at the top, I think he wrote either "Here we go" or "Here it comes." It was a 3-word thing, and I'm sure that he was instrumental in tipping off and
oh sure, he's singing like a canary, and why shouldn't he? He absolutely should tell everything. He should spill his guts. There's no reason not to.
Do canaries really sing? Are they the best birds to use for that, or is that another?
A bluebird?
And by the way, are they the only bird you can send into a coal mine to find out what's going on?
They are.
Is that it?
They are.
What is the deal? Who decided this?
They were the guinea pigs. And our guinea pig's the only thing you can test things on. These are other questions that we have to find out. So Rudolph Giuliani seems like he's screwed on this one. And again, who do you feel more sorry for? The officers who had to go through what they went through on January the 6th, or these poor agents who had to go through Rudolph Giuliani's underwear drawer? Who got the rawer deal on that situation, Brad?
I believe the people whose lives were truly in jeopardy.
Probably, yes.
On January 6th, but your attempt to make light of what could be the most important day in the last 50 years in this country is not appreciated. And I want you to apologize right now.
I am the guy who has minimized
to these people.
I'm the guy who has downplayed it and minimized it forever. That's what I've done for the past 3 months. Now, the interesting part of the Rudolph Giuliani thing to me is here you have all of these QAnon idiots, wackos, nut jobs, crazoids, who really need to double up on their whatever medication they're taking, and they keep getting fed these breadcrumbs. Oh, coming up, JFK Jr. is going to expose. Wait a minute, Donald Trump's going to be inaugurated on May the 3rd. And now here's a real bombshell that drops on these people's heads. And forever it's been like, Giuliani, it's coming down. It's coming down. It's going to be a big deal. And it actually happens. Whereas the QAnon shit never happens. Time after time after time after time. No. Donald Trump is really inaugurated on this date. No, he's really going to be on this date. No, JFK Jr. is going to jump out. No. Hillary's going to be going to jail on this date. And none of that shit ever happens.
Well, let's look at the political landscape under which this story here in late April has now blossomed. The federal government, the Justice Department, is now taking out a warrant and looking at Rudy Giuliani's apartment. They clearly wanted to do that many months ago when Trump was president and Bill Barr was the attorney general. And they provided, undoubtedly, the cloak of protection over Rudy Giuliani back then. That's not relevant in terms of how it will probably be presented now, not by you, not by me, not by news outlets that are reporting the story, but by the usual suspects. They will say, well, Merrick Garland is sending his goon squad after Rudy Giuliani, who, by the way, did you know he was America's mayor right after 9/11? Right? They will go through all those things, and they will say that this is the misuse of the Justice Department to punish political enemies. They will say that. Of
Right.
course, that is not true,
Right.
because you take out a warrant when you have reasonable suspicion that you might find something. And you know what? Maybe they'll find nothing. But from what we've seen of the way Rudy Giuliani has behaved the last couple of years, he's really not as smart as either he thinks he is, or people who would support whatever he is, whatever Trump is, think Rudy Giuliani is. I mean, he's made mistake after mistake after mistake. He's got alcohol problems. He needs to pick better roles in his movies that he appears in. There's no question about that.
His agent sucks. His agent's terrible.
He's got a bad agent. Bad agent. Okay. I mean, I don't know whether he's going to appear in the next Sacha Baron Cohen classic about Kazakhstan and his great adventures. Okay. So he's not the brightest guy. And what interests me the most, and I think we've almost said enough about this now, is whether Rudy Giuliani will have been stupid enough after all he really does know from being a federal prosecutor and the guy who prosecuted mafia agents, who that at this point, whether he would have been stupid enough to have computers and smartphones and documents in his possession, in his apartment or on his person, that would just take him down the river. Well, because you would think that that kind of guy would know all the tricks and would kind of know how to get around that and do his dirty work in a proverbial sense by walking out into the woods and just talking to someone and leaving no paper trail or electronic trail. There's no evidence that Rudy Giuliani is that guy. That's what I want to see. I want to see what they find. That's the.
But in your heart, you really feel like he has all of that evidence that will incriminate all of them. I mean, that's my inclination, is that whatever Rudolph Giuliani that we mythologize, and by the way, this is the 20th anniversary of 9/11 when Rudy Giuliani went to mythic proportions after being a fairly unpopular mayor for several years, including kicking his wife out of the mayor's mansion. Very public, not a nice situation. It's been a slow, steady downward hill. And then when he decided to hook up with the Donald Trump train, that's when he went on turbo blast straight to hell, right? That's the Rudolph Giuliani story right now.
Yeah, well, there's several chapters, several segments to this that begin way before 9/11 in the Rudy Giuliani saga. It was 2 terms as mayor, and to this day, he is still given, in some sense, fair credit for reducing crime a lot in New York City at great cost in a lot of areas. But he's the guy that made Times Square a less scary place to go to and a lot more boring. But he did that. He got rid of the fine film selection that you used to have when walking through Times Square, where you could see all sorts of human behavior on display, not at great expense, with wonderful people going like this. Psst, you want to come in here? Psst, want to see this?
But look, to Rudolph Giuliani, to Rudy's credit, he found out that porn was going to a free model. So he knew that paying for porn was going to be a losing thing. So he decided to get out of the business. Times Square needs to get out of that business.
Right.
Now, allow me to counterpoint what you just said as far as the Law and Order guy. He's also Mr. Stop and Frisk, right? That was a big Rudolph Giuliani thing, right?
I can't recall whether that was his idea or not, because there have been a series of New York City police commissioners,
right,
who have been back and forth on that. But anyway, so you have the mayor, and then you have the 9/11 mythical Rudy, greatest guy ever mayor, that lasted not very long, but that coincided with the appearance on Saturday Night Live and the great one-liner, "Why should you start being funny now?" that he said to Lorne Michaels at the end of the show. All those things, right? And he was riding that for a fairly short time, and then whatever was going on in his head, it had a dollar sign in front of it.
Oh God!
There was nothing he wasn't willing to do after that short amount of time, and then Bloomberg is the new mayor after that,
right?
That he wasn't willing to do to cash in on his notoriety. This is the equivalent of people who leave Congress and then become lobbyists for the companies that were being regulated by them while they were in Congress, that they gave favorable treatment to, and then they get out of, and the next thing you know, they're working for them or they're lobbying for them. Anyway, so Rudy made apparently a lot of money selling his name for security and theft of identity kind of thing, all that kind of crap. It was Rudy Giuliani, right? And I think he even worked with Bernard Kerik, the corrupt police commissioner, for 5 minutes,
right?
Who got run out for various schemes. And of course, by then there was Fox News, which could always be a landing spot, a home for these orphans of decency who have left the building, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe orphans of indecency.
That sounds like that's a good indie band right there. Orphans of Indecency. So to this day, you can turn on Fox and find Bernard Kerik, disgraced ex-police commissioner of New York, being touted as an expert and a go-to guy, as opposed to some of the other police commissioners in New York, like Bill Bratton, Ray Kelly, and people of that sort who don't have any kind of criminal record. But Fox has to rehabilitate the guy who has the criminal record as police commissioner. But we're kind of off track there. Anyway, so Rudy Giuliani makes a ton of money. The drinking continues, and next thing you know, he crosses paths with Trump. And one of our guiding principles has been for all these years: if you do business with Donald Trump, it will end in tears. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. And the other big question I think you have, I have, we all have now, with this warrant served on Rudy Giuliani's stuff in his place, in his crib, is this the ultimate attempt to squeeze him to turn on Trump? Because remember, so far, if you pull back hard enough on this whole story, nobody has turned on Trump in a way that would allow them to do to him what Rudy Giuliani, I think he was there for the John Gotti prosecution. Nobody has taken Trump down legally yet. Isn't it amazing how quiet it's been since right after the election, where we heard, oh, well, Cyrus Vance Jr., the prosecutor in New York, he's going to stay on an extra year to complete the prosecution. Very quiet, isn't it? It's very, very quiet. And we can assume this means that they're about to drop an anvil on somebody's head, or they got nothing on this guy that's substantial enough to go in front of a grand jury or a judge and nail Donald Trump for all of the things that we know he has done. They're going after Giuliani. They're going after Alan Weisselberg, the accountant in the corner, who knows everything. Well, what's going on here? Hey, in the movies, on the show 24, they get the guy, they tie him to a chair, they start slapping him around, and they talk. Yeah.
But that's not the way it works in real life. So this is a slow, painful process. And if we don't watch it, Trump is going to die on us. He's going to go to his grave and never account for his sins.
Would that be the worst? Would that be the worst thing, though? Really?
Yeah, right.
It's God's justice. That's what it is. It's God's justice. There's no getting away from the Lord. There's no getting away. You can't. Oh, God issued a subpoena, I'm going to ignore it. You can't really do that.
No, but see, we're all going to die. But in Trump's case, death would be the ultimate get out of jail free card.
Yeah.
And again, you have to wonder. Maybe we'll find out. If he did die, would people talk?
Oh, at that point,
if he was dead,
yeah.
Are you finally willing to talk against Donald Trump and tell the truth about your dealings with him?
It's interesting. It's like when Vito died, people were scared of Michael, but were they scared? I mean, like if Sonny would have been around, would they have been scared of Sonny? Like, are people really scared of Donald Jr. and Eric coming after them, or Ivanka or Jared?
Right. Well, and it isn't quite that. It's always, well, it's the voters, it's the supporters. I'm afraid of his supporters. So are you afraid of his supporters after he's dead too?
Well, there will be any number of conspiracy theories that Hillary killed him and blah, 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 blah. Let's go on to the important. We've had some fun with the frivolous. This is the important legal news of the day. In the Elizabeth City case, the Andrew Brown Jr. body cam video is going to be delayed and released to the public for 30 days. Brad, it's going to take them this long to kind of clean up the audio and blur the pictures, the faces of the officers. That is what they say. That is what the judge has decreed in this case.
Right. Well, this is messy because time is of the essence in terms of what we've seen. And so far, to the great credit of people of this state and folks who have come into, Northeast North Carolina from around the country, these have been peaceful protests, right? They have been peaceful protests. So therefore, there is no video to keep showing over and over again on Fox of somebody breaking something somewhere, which is a disappointment to them, I know. But so far, the protests have been peaceful. But boy, I'll tell you, 30 days is a long time to expect that we're going to be able to keep a lid on this. And we are at the point where if you're not showing it, you're hiding something. And again, this is believe your eyes, believe your ears. Something happened there that shouldn't have happened. And with a bullet hole in the back of someone's head, you got to have a better explanation than, well, he was driving his car towards us, so we shot him in the back of the head. What the hell is that? Right? They're playing he was driving his car towards us, so we had to shoot him in the back of the. Wait, first of all, he was shot in the arm 4 times. So it wasn't this isn't a movie where somebody's driving their car towards you and you start shooting. No, they were close into him when they shot him in the arm 4 times. And then somehow he got shot in the back of the head for bullet number 5 that we know of. And this is.
But it goes back to what you've been railing about, the North Carolina's horrendous record in releasing this footage. Why this footage why the judge has said this and stuff.
Well, here's what the judge said. The judge played the "you don't have any standing" card to even ask for this. He threw out the request because the lawyers for Mr. Brown, he said, didn't have the standing to get in there and ask and demand that. So that's a technicality.
Who would have standing? Who would have standing? The media? I mean, I think they're protected in the First Amendment, aren't they? Would the media have standing to get that body-worn camera footage released?
Whoever a judge decides, apparently, at this given moment. And they're really setting this up to be worse and worse than it's going to be, which is going to be bad in the first place. Police are not going to look good in this, and we just have to watch it unfold here. I mean, what more is there to say?
How do you feel that our Governor Roy Cooper, who has been embattled greatly from the right, but he pretty easily won election, you would say, back in November, and he's been criticized not that much from the left, but maybe a little bit from the left. Do you think that he's in kind of a precarious position where this whole thing goes? I mean, there's only so much he can do.
He's called for a special prosecutor. What do you want him to do?
I'm with you, but again,
him to do?
When I hear special prosecutor, that sounds like something like we'll get a committee to study it. For people who have seen their relatives.
No, special prosecutor is not a committee. That's a person with full power to take control of an investigation and decide where the quote bodies are buried. No.
Well, and of course, being the former attorney general for the state, he would have at least some legal knowledge of how these things kind of proceed. So you would hope. But again, I think the situation is tenuous, and I got to feel I still feel like they felt like up there in little bitty Pasquotank County, they were going to be able to slow roll this because they're kind of isolated from the world. I don't think they understand how things work in 2021.
Well, they're learning fast. And by the way, now that you have insulted and defamed our wonderful governor, Roy Cooper, by somehow taking the fake right-wing criticism view of everything that he does and laying it over this story.
That's what I've done.
Right. That's what you did. In Minnesota, right?
Yeah.
We have a Democratic governor,
mm-hmm.
and you didn't see him all that much out there talking about it because it was not his job to prosecute this case.
No.
There is an attorney general, Keith Ellison, in Minnesota, and he was in charge of prosecuting the case, but you didn't see him standing there in court. He orchestrated what you saw. I think if you're gonna play Monday morning quarterback here, and it's a little bit early because it's Friday. It isn't even Saturday, Sunday, or Monday to quarterback this yet because we don't know what's happened yet. But I think the real pressure is going to possibly be on the Attorney General, Josh Stein, to get things in gear, just like Keith Ellison did in Minnesota in the Derek Chauvin trial for murdering George Floyd. I think that's
Josh
where
Stein,
it's going to lay.
Josh Stein is a guy who is widely seen as someone who is being picked out or being primed for higher office, whether it be the Senate run or whether it be the next governor, whichever he wants. But he's been I think he's a good candidate to move on and go to higher office for sure.
Right. Well, but he barely got reelected.
Yeah.
I mean, he got, I believe, barely reelected this time around. So he doesn't have a lot of extra cards in the deck to play around with here. And since we live in the place where prosecutors have lost their careers famously, the Duke lacrosse case, Mike Nifong, remember that guy?
I do.
I mean, you have to be really careful how you handle this. And boy, the Duke lacrosse case seems almost quaint in comparison to the stakes that are involved in this. I mean, we didn't have protests every night for it's just, this is different.
It is.
And this is sensitive and it's difficult. And it looks like so far the police in that part of this state learned nothing from what was on display in Minnesota, which is you get it out there, you be as transparent as possible after you have to. Okay. It's not like they were very good at the beginning. They put out that phony statement that we had a medical incident with a guy on the street. But once the prosecution and the investigation moved to a higher level, the state of Minnesota level, with the Attorney General Keith Ellison, things started to happen. In this case, we already have the FBI coming in. So it's already, as your mom has probably said to you many times, they've made a federal case out of it. It's already a federal case.
It needed to be a federal case.
Yeah. And this has nothing to do with the reality of it, but I feel so removed from that story geographically. I feel like that part of North Carolina, to people like me, does not exist. And maybe that's part of a different problem that should probably be discussed. But this state, emblematic of the whole country, where you have rural folks who feel they don't get a fair shake, don't get a good deal, don't get any attention until something like this happens. And then suddenly the light is shown upon them. And then they're picking on us again. We haven't done anything different.
Culturally, that area, Edenton and Elizabeth City in that area, has a lot more in common with the Norfolk area than it does with some of the North Carolina stuff. I mean, obviously the Outer Banks has a lot in common, but that is culturally where they kind of have gravitated, where their media comes from and stuff of that nature.
I know, but I'm making more of a distinction, not based on which big city are you closest to so you get to watch their TV channels.
Right.
I'm talking about that part of North Carolina is more like central Alabama.
It is. Yeah, no, that's true. It's like a Philadelphia,
um,
Mississippi kind of situation. Sure. Absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of isolation and all of those things, that
right.
things should have operated like they did 50 years ago and shit like that, for sure.
I've told you this a zillion times. I've lived here since 1987, and there are still times where a story will occur in the state of North Carolina, and they will name a county that I've never heard of.
Right.
They will name where is that? I have to look it up. I mean, I usually have a general idea what they're talking about, but I haven't heard the name. And this is another one of those cases that doesn't change anything about the real facts of the story. I'm just acknowledging my own cultural prejudice.
There's a lot of people that live in the populous areas of North Carolina that don't know much about Elizabeth City or that area. Like in your Charlottes, your Raleighs, your Asheville's, your Greensboroughs. Yeah, they don't know much about Elizabeth City, and many of them have never been there. I think I've been to that place twice in my life, and I couldn't tell you anything significant about it.
Right.
I know there's a big Coast Guard station there, but I could have looked at that on Wikipedia.
There's a fairly dense piece in the last day or so, written by a couple of New York Times reporters, all about Iowa, all about what the hell happened to Iowa. How was Iowa completely lost to the Democrats? What's the deal? How did it go from being a practically reliably blue state over a generation to where it is now, to where Trump won Iowa by, I think, even a bigger number in 2020 than he won in 2016, where House seats have flipped from Democratic to Republican, where they have 2 Republican senators, that Joni Ernst got reelected. She's dreadful. She's horrible. She's a phony. She's a fraud. She's a liar. But it didn't matter. They reelected her in Iowa. And the division between rural and urban in Iowa is as stark as it is where we are. If you're in the cities, the bigger cities, and you're in the ringing suburbs, you're likely to be a Democratic voter. And if you're out and I believe Iowa has 99 counties instead of 100. I think they have 99.
So we're better.
And so there's all these counties out there that you have never heard of.
Yeah.
And Iowa is so weird. There's a Des Moines County, but that's not where Des Moines is. Okay. That's a real problem.
We do that here. Okay. Rockingham County is not where Rockingham, the city, is. We do that. Right. We do some of that shit here.
Because obviously there are a limited number of names, and you got to spread them around among different geographies.
There's a Greene County, but Greenville nor Greensboro is in Greene County. So you do shit like that, like crazy ass.
Well, but I'm talking about the exact name. But anyway, it's very striking, and the end question for Democrats is: do you just write off? Do you just throw in the towel on states like Iowa that have done that and concentrate on growing state? Because Iowa is, another state where population growth isn't very much. If you have any brains and you grow up on the farm, you get the hell out of there and you move to Minneapolis or Chicago and you get a job where the it is like that, because farming has been decimated in a certain sense. And we could go into what the hell's the matter with Iowa, that kind of discussion where people vote against their own interests, because constantly. The same people right now who are Republicans in a place like Iowa who are screaming, and I've seen about 5 editorial cartoons today, all of them talking about Joe Biden, the socialist. They put Joe Biden standing there looking at the Kremlin with Democratic signs on it. It's the same thing. And by the way, without arguing with cartoons, part 57, which I do on my Facebook page, guess what? Russia is not a socialist country. It's run by a fucking dictator.
Right.
And it's got bullshit fake capitalism. Okay. So to even use that parallel, that socialism is about Russians now against Joe Biden and Democrat, is so beyond ignorant and talking down to your audience or your readers or your viewers that it's still 1962 and Khrushchev is going to bury us with communism and socialism. But anyway, back to the point. The point here is that, should Democrats just say Iowa is a lost cause, places like that are going to be lost causes. They're done, and that the hypocrisy of people screaming socialist towards Democrats, and it works still. The labeling still works. The whole James Carville thing of the last few days, we should probably get into that.
Sure.
I think he makes great points. But anyway, the idea that Republicans who scream socialism at Democratic ideas, the ones that Joe Biden will be talking about in front of the whole country on Wednesday night, these are the same people that were more than willing to take billions and billions of dollars of our tax money under Donald Trump, who bragged about the fact that his form of socialism, which was throwing tariffs on the American people,
right,
pretending it was the Chinese who were going to suffer, and then taking the money that was collected and redistributing it. That's right, the word redistribution is used here, to American farmers, and then bragging about it. And the farmers go, well, yeah, okay, that's some damn good stuff. They would never say, oh, that's the kind of socialism I can live with.
Right.
Because I'm a white guy farmer. That's
Plus
good socialism.
Your taxes are being raised because tariffs are taxes. The stuff that you're buying, that you socialist recipients, the stuff that you need at Walmart, et cetera, for your kids to go back to school eventually, when they do go to school, all of that stuff, the prices are going to go up.
Yeah,
that's how that works.
Can we talk about a fellow podcaster here for just a moment?
I'd be happy to.
And you know how hesitant we are to talk about one of our brothers in podcasting, because we're all on the same team.
It's a family.
Right. I'll just throw out a name. When Joe Rogan wins, we all win, right?
Oh, I love that guy so much. He knows shit and none of the rest know it. We're so stupid and he's so smart.
Right. Exactly. Last Friday, he said, you probably don't need to get a vaccine. Here's the quote. This is what he said. People say, you think it's safe to get vaccinated? I've said, yeah, I think for the most part it's safe to get vaccinated. I do. But if you're like 21 years old and you say to me, should I get vaccinated? I'll go, no. Are you healthy? Are you a healthy person? If you're a healthy person and you're exercising all the time and you're young and you're eating well, I don't think you need to worry about this. And as I was saying to my doctor yesterday upon a visit, I said, Dr. Joe Rogan said that I didn't need, no, I didn't say that, and I didn't go to a doctor. But there are obviously people who listen to this guy. He's got a big following. He really does. He signed
a big, huge, massive, multi-million-dollar deal with Spotify. Right. That's the headline
that
we're showing now.
A lot of people that pay attention to him.
Right.
And I don't even want to bother with getting down to the facts right now, which are that of the people who are still contracting coronavirus, a disproportionate number of them are now in younger categories than were in the past. And we know why that is. One, it's vaccine hesitancy combined with more virulent variations on the virus that are moving around, and the need to get out there and go to parties and be in bars and be together and be close, because that's what young people do. So we need a podcaster, and this guy's core following is dumbass fucking moron males between 18 and 45. Would that be his core audience, Britt?
Probably. Yeah, probably. Unwoke, mostly Republican gun owners who really just, and they who describe themselves as libertarians.
Right. And by the way, I would prefer you not to categorize all of us who've gotten vaccines as woke. Okay. That's not woke or unwoke. Okay. That is not that.
It's just smart. That's all that is.
Right. How about it's just not dumb?
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of just, it's like baseline. That's like your entrance exam for humanity for not being stupid, is just go get a vaccine when it's offered to you for free.
Now, I doubt that his podcast or his video version of it, whatever, has been taken down, has been fact checked by whoever distributes it.
No, there it is. Spotify's punting and just saying, boy, a lot of people listen to him. A lot of people love him, but we're not getting involved with politics because that's what this is politics. La 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 la.
And that is a brand new story, almost as we're speaking here.
Yeah.
So they all do the same thing. It doesn't matter whether it's Facebook or Google or Spotify or any of them. When they have an asshole on, when they have a Tucker Carlson kind of character on, saying things that are demonstrably wrong, undeniably dangerous, completely irresponsible, what is their first response? Their first inclination is to always say, well, we don't control the content. We just distribute it.
Huge audience, big audience.
Right. So the bigger your audience is, the more protected you are when you say something that is horribly wrong, irresponsible, and actually dangerous to your audience if they were to follow you. That's a great thing. That's a wonderful, wonderful business.
That's how you
model.
do it.
That's a great one.
That's what you do. Now, do you want to do the James Carville story as we finish up today? We got a few minutes. Sure. We can talk about James Carville. There's the headline.
Do you have it in front of you?
There it is. Carville says Democrats have a wokeness problem. That is what he said. And this is from the Hill's version of the story. Democratic strategist James Carville says Democrats have a wokeness problem, and we all know it, adding that the party needs to talk about racial issues with the language of everyday Americans. Speaking with Vox in an interview that was published on Tuesday, Carville said that Democrats often discuss racial issues using language that is alienating to some of the communities they're trying to reach. Wokeness is a problem, and everyone knows that it's hard to talk to anybody today. And I talk to lots of people in the Democratic Party who doesn't say this, but they don't want to say it out loud. Why not, said the interviewer. Because they'll get clobbered or canceled, Carville responded. And look, part of the problem is that lots of Democrats will say that we have to listen to everybody and we have to include every perspective, or that we don't have to run a ruthless messaging campaign. Well, you kind of do. It really matters. I always tell people we got to stop speaking Hebrew and start speaking Yiddish. We have to speak the way regular people speak, the way that voters speak. That is James Carville.
They come up with a word like Latinx, Latinx,
Latinx,
that no one else uses, or they use a phrase like communities of color. I don't know anyone who speaks like that. I don't know anyone who lives in a, quote, community of color. I know lots of black and white and brown people, and they all live in neighborhoods. Nothing wrong with those phrases inherently, but this is not how people talk. This is not how voters talk, and doing it anyway is a signal that you're talking one language and the people you want to vote for you are speaking another language. This stuff is harmless in one sense, but in another sense, it's not. And let me cross-pollinate that with the guru of language who's worked way more with Republicans than Democrats, Frank Luntz. Mm-hmm. He was the master of boiling down issues into simple language that moved voters and got their attention. Obamacare was a government takeover of your health care. That's it. That's all it was. It was a government. That's how they portrayed it. It wasn't true, but that doesn't matter. And I think Carville's point is spot on, that you can MSNBC yourself to fucking death with the same guests coming on saying the same things over and over again and not move one voter. And what I have really noticed is the commercials that run on these news channels. Almost all of them are preaching to their own choirs. They're preaching to their own core audiences. No, we've been through this a million times, and people have said, you need to go on the other guy's channel. You need to talk to the other people. And this isn't about unity. This isn't about Republicans need to talk with Democrats. This is about getting the message out. And this has allowed a state like Iowa. It's a perfect example of what Carville is talking about. Okay. I'm not concerned about the communities of color in small town Iowa. I'm worried about my neighborhood, his word, going to crap because everybody moved away and there are no businesses left and there's nothing to do anymore. I think, James Carville, people can write this off. They can ignore this at their peril, and they can say, "Oh fuck, James Carville's 75 years old. Yeah, he got Clinton elected 25 years ago. Hey, you've been living off the fumes of that ever since then. What the fuck have you? You know what? Bullshit. This guy knows his stuff. And by the way, so does Frank Luntz. They both know their businesses.
They've both been effective. They both have been successful. Don't you feel like what James Carville is essentially saying is, look, you're scaring white people. When you use terms like microaggressions and you use terms like woke and things like this, you're scaring white people. Stop scaring white people. That's what I feel like he's saying.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. All right. Well, he's scaring a segment of white people.
Right.
Not all
exactly.
White people. No, by the way, not white people who live on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. Okay. Not white people who live in Chapel Hill, North Carolina.
Silicon Valley. The white guys in Silicon Valley are okay with it. Sure.
Exactly. It's a class and education divide, and Republicans, even if they're beating the shit out of these people with their horrible policies, are telling them what they want to hear, and then they cloak that in cultural wedge issues like abortion and segregation and immigration, things that really are literally black and white, and crime and law and order. And the Democrats are standing out there saying, yeah, but. In other words, millions and millions of people right now are not focused on the fact that a black guy got shot in the back of the head in Elizabeth City, North Carolina. They are more concerned, and their media universe is just waiting for any degree of protest to turn into violence. And then that will be the story. It will not be about the fact that policing clearly needs reform. And by the way, when it does need reform, we have enough Democrats who keep saying defund the police that you're fucked. You are fucked on that issue.
That was a bad branding choice by whoever decided to run with that football.
And by the way, it was not a branding choice. It was said once by one person, and they picked it up on Fox and on Drudge and ran with it, and every Republican repeated it, and they hung it around the necks of all kinds of people. And that's why, even though Joe Biden won, the Republicans didn't lose as badly as they should have.
No,
in the congressional,
and they're probably going to control the Senate and the House in 2022 if things don't really change drastically. Yeah,
right.
No, this is what I'll put up. This is what some of the white folks are thinking about right now. The ones that aren't in Silicon Valley. There's the Drudge report today. Biden's address to a joint session of Congress. Robin Hood, tax the rich, give to the poor tonight, wants trillions. So Matt Drudge is very concerned about debt and about your grandchildren paying lots and lots of taxes.
Right. And this is an interesting attempt to frame and brand what Democrats and Republicans are trying to do. And Joe Biden fashioning himself as the 21st century FDR. But you know what? I got $1,400 in my bank account. That's pretty good. That's real stuff. And what has to be done is it has to be shown, and with real results, doing real things about real issues, that Democrats can get shit done, that they can govern, that we don't have to have another 4 years at any point in the future of some person being the president who is just a self-aggrandizing fraud and a phony who really doesn't do anything for most people, but tells you he's doing it. And by the way, we got to go because I hear that the Trump healthcare plan is about to be revealed.
Oh, wow.
That magical Trump.
Holy shit.
Yes. It's about to come out. If that isn't the best example of, I don't know what is. If it's either that or infrastructure week. I can't figure out which one.
Which is coming first, the final infrastructure week or that Trump healthcare plan?
Yeah. All right. We'll wind up the week with one last Brad and Britt podcast that'll go to print on Thursday afternoon. We will see